Greetings everyone. And I had to wait a couple of days, but I got some picks for y'all. I finally got the last of all my Amazon books there. Sorry I had to adjust the camera for a brief moment. But I got some goodies for y'all. And got quite a few of these. Actually, let me move some of these over. There we go. First one up is a book that I had actually wanted to read, and it did not disappoint. The Trial of Captain America. I gotta give Brubaker credit. A lot of the stuff that he's done with Bucky as Cap has really impressed me. Although some of you I'm sure are going, you're just now getting into some of Brubaker's Bucky stuff? Well, you gotta remember, I don't read very many modern comics. I actually feel that most modern comics are, as Zip likes to coin the phrase, nothing but publicity stunts and shock value stuff. So there's very few genuine stories, but I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a whole lot. Though, however, one that I enjoyed equally as much, Steve Rogers' Super Soldier. The way Steve should be in the comics. As much as I love Steve being Captain America, I like him more as Commander Rogers. Now, hold on a second. Sorry, my mind was playing tricks on me. I have, from the pages of Kevin Smith's Green Hornet, Volume 1 of Kato, Not My Father's Daughter. I don't need to say anything about that. I think from the last two videos you know how I feel about Kevin Smith's run on Green Hornet. And I loved Green Hornet year one, so I picked up Kato Origins. And this was really good. This was really good. It was very interesting to see Kato's origins and how he became employed by Britt Reed. And apparently it touches on the fact that Kato is not actually Korean. He's actually Japanese during World War II. But that he posed as Korean so he wouldn't be put in an internment camp. So he's basically confronting people from his past in this story. This was good. Oh, next up is one of my absolute favorites. Definitely one of my absolute favorite books. This was actually the first book that I also read too. Really enjoyed this, but Superboy, the Boy of Steel. This book, what Jeff Johns did to it, in my opinion, is just as good as Flash and Green Lantern Rebirth. He told a very great coming-of-age-esque story for Connor Kent. As you can tell by this book, basically the whole premise is that Connor is keeping this journal after finding out during a Teen Titans storyline, and also this event preludes Blackest Night. We find out that Connor is very conflicted about his one half of his DNA being Kryptonian, the other half being human. And basically Lex Luthor and Superman being both of the people that are the progenitors of his DNA. And so this book basically focuses on Connor figuring out, who am I? Am I very much like Lex Luthor? Or am I a lot like Superman? And I'm not going to give away much about this book, but all I can say is that Connor stepping up against Lex Luthor and another famous Superman villain in this book was great. The chemistry between him and Tim Drake, who is now Red Robin. This book actually makes me want to go and collect Red Robin comics now. Like, I really liked the chemistry between... I was digging on the chemistry between him and Tim Drake in this book. And I mean, all of the supporting cast, even Crypto, they played their parts very well in this book, and I definitely a good book. I definitely recommend picking it up. Another great book that I loved is Booster Gold, Blue and Gold. That's what's up. Ted Kord and Michael Von Carter. But wait, it's not just Ted Kord. See if I can find it. It's not just Ted Kord, but Jaime Reyes, the modern Blue Beetle, and Dan Garrett, the Golden Age Blue Beetle. Ted Kord, Jaime Reyes, and Dan Garrett, all in the same book. That... all I can say to Jeff Johns is, brilliant! Simply brilliant. But that book was great simply because Booster not only wants to try to keep Ted from dying in the DC Universe timeline, but also they make Mr. Mind, who is probably one of the most obscure Captain Marvel villains, and they actually make him a threat. They actually make Mr. Mind a threat in that book. And it's great to see Booster kind of start to mature and actually become more of a hero and not so much a joke comedic character like he's always being played off as. And here's one that I think that you're gonna love, Zip. I even told you about this. Ziploc Gories, man, and I actually enjoyed this. But book 1 of Neil Adams and Friends, Dead Man. I can now happily say I have Boston Brand in my comic book collection. And this was great because this is actually from the debut issue into, like, I would say issues 6 or 7 of Dead Man. Hey guys. Sorry to make y'all wait. Okay, as I was saying with Dead Man, I actually read the back of this. It's actually issue 9, so it's the debut issue. Ugh. Sorry. Take 2. It goes from the very first issue of Dead Man all the way to issue 9. Or at least rather 9 issues of Boston Brand's career that kind of explain his origins. But this was good. I'm definitely looking forward to book 2. Definitely looking forward to it. And for the very first time, I have my very first JSA All-Stars. And this storyline is called Glory Days. And I like the JSA, and I really wish that they hadn't had split up. At least according to what I read. But I'll get to the issue that separates them in a second. But I liked this. I enjoyed this. Basically, the JSA All-Stars, the All-Stars are going to be basically go up against the Pantheon gods, like the old gods of the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Incans. And they're brought into modern day. And all of the JSA members, all the All-Star members, they have to face their fears. Like, they have to face their own convictions, the things that make them feel alienated, the things that they fear most. And this book opens up with, spoiler for those of you who haven't quite read the storyline yet. I haven't even read it, but I want to see it. Apparently they are at the funeral of Damage. He's apparently already been dead, and Judo Master is basically going through this whole eulogy for him. And I like how they set it up, and I like how they talk about their relationship. And it's a very touching and tear-jerking moment. Because Judo Master finally catches up with the assassin that killed her father. But she ends up just taking him down and leaving him for Interpol. Due to the fact that Damage said, I realize what happened with you and everything, but don't let your anger and don't let your depression, don't feel that you have nothing to lose. I don't regret anything that I did and blah blah. The stereotypical, like, lovey-dovey tween stuff that we see in modern movies nowadays. But man, when they start fighting the Pantheonal gods and whatnot, it gets serious. It gets really serious. And this book had a lot of great funny moments in it. But I'll leave that for you guys to decide. There were also a lot of other storylines. They don't just fight Pantheonal gods, but they had a deal where Cyclone apparently has like this multiple personality deal where she's separated and whatnot. It collects multiple like mini storylines that are part of that book. Here's the book that actually separates the JSA altogether between the All-Stars and what I refer to as the Old Guard. And it's the storyline called The Bad Seed. And basically, one of Robin's old nemesis, the Tapeworm, ends up building this big, massive supergroup, or rather supervillain group, I should say. I mean, there's Dr. Polaris, there's Eclipso, there's the Bloodhound Pack or whatever, Major Force, Blue Moon, I think is her name. Like, they come up with some really obscure and really redundant characters that I don't think I've ever heard of. But what's really great is that we see a friction in between the group. We see Kid Carnival almost murder Michael Holt in this book. Like, he stabs the dude to death and pretends that he's possessed. Because he's posing as the All-American Kid. And then Kent Nelson, the current Dr. Fate, the grandson, I believe, of the original Golden Age Dr. Fate, man, all I'm going to say is that when he comes in, and turns the tide for the JSA with all these bad guys, shit gets real. It gets very real. But what I love too is that Wildcat and Mangog here, they start having a conflict of interest. Mangog and Wildcat almost come to blows. And this issue, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, it's the next book. I got ahead of myself there a little bit. But yeah, at the very end they decide to split into two different teams. Hopefully they'll bring the team back together as a whole. But I'm not holding my breath with this whole reboot relaunch. Oh well, at least I still got the older books. Anyway, moving on. Here we go. The New Age. And this is great. Because in this book we have, they first introduced Cyclone, who was apparently the granddaughter of the Golden Age Red Tornado, who was like a fat lady who wore like a knight armor type deal. It's whatever. This also introduces Citizen Steel and how he got his powers. We see Damage, we see the new Starman, who apparently is in an insane asylum and loves sloppy joes. Wildcat apparently finds out that he has a son, and they face Vandal Savage. There's just too much of this book to really describe. It's weird. That's all I'm gonna say about it. It's just weird. But it's weird in a good way, and I like it. I really enjoyed this. It was great. I'm looking forward to picking up more of the JSA stuff. Or rather, before they split and one team's the Old Guard, the other's the All-Stars. This is when the team was still whole. This book right here. And I'm looking forward to reading more of them. Especially when Black Adam and Shazam are actually part of... Captain's Log 8305. I'm not going anywhere with these comic books, but I must continue on. Okay, that was horrible. Anyway, because I am dragging this a little bit longer than I really wanted to, but... Okay, yeah, basically, I will try to collect more of these JSA books before they break up into the two separate teams. But... next up on my list, I'm going into two IDW books that I had. One of them is G.I. Joe Origins. This was interesting. Seeing the origins of the Joes, how they all met, what each of them did before they joined the team and whatnot, was actually pretty interesting. I may have to start collecting volumes 2, 3, 4 and whatnot. Because I was digging where they were going with this. Especially this stuff when they introduced Cobra Commander. I mean, the way they introduced Cobra Commander was a little twisted, to say the very least. So, I'm looking forward to actually getting my hands on Volume 2 in the near future. Yeah. And the revival of the old Marvel Comics series has come into modern day, and that is Real American Hero. Wow, that was terrible. Anyway, Volume 1 of Real American Hero, and this picks up right where the Marvel Comics series actually ended. The Joes have become fugitives. Sounds like a certain cartoon. But Cobra has now become the defense contractor, and they're now tasked with hunting down the Joes. I can't bring myself to say it, but you guys know what's probably going through my mind right now. But I love this cover. I like this cover. Snake Eyes with the Cobra symbol on there, and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow with the U.S. Army patch and whatnot. This is a very cool cover. But this was good. And the last book that I have, I just actually got in today and I read it, and it's awesome. Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. This is basically a couple of stories from the 70s, from the debut issue into a couple of issues. This introduces Hyena, Killer Frost, Multiplex, all of Firestorm's, all of Firestorm's villains. And there's even 2 guest star issues, one with Superman and one with the Flash. This was damn good. This was really damn good. Matter of fact, I think that if they do a DC Showcase Presents, they gotta have Firestorm and the old school Black Lightning get their own, like, solo showcase books. But this was good. I enjoyed this very much. But that's about it, guys, because really, I've dragged this on a lot longer than I really want to, just ranting and raving and doing what I do best, just wasting time. So those are my book picks, and that's it, guys. That is all the books that I have for now. Stay tuned for more in the possible future. And also the next lesser known but awesome heroes that I'm doing, the 2 females. Stay tuned for that video.